Zarina stood at the front door, her violet skin glowing slightly under Earth's sun. She adjusted her uniform, a simple blue jumpsuit with her name stitched in silver letters. Today was her first official job on Earth, not as a warrior, not as a scientist, but as a babysitter. She had studied Earth customs, read dozens of human parenting books. She even passed the galactic babysitting safety exam. Easy, she thought, just one human child for 4 hours. What could possibly go wrong? The door opened with a soft click. A tall human woman and her husband smiled warmly at her. "Zarina, right? We're so glad you're here," the woman said. "We'll be gone just for a few hours," added the father. Zarina nodded, confident. She noticed a boy peeking from behind the couch. His brown eyes were wide, his hair messy, and a smirk played on his lips. "That's Max," the mother said. "He's 8, he's sweet." But curious, the father leaned in closer and whispered, "Just don't let him near the garage." Zarina blinked. "The garage?" she asked. "Yes," both parents said in unison. Looking suddenly serious, Zarina nodded again, making a mental note. "No garage, understood." The parents waved goodbye, and the door shut. Zarina turned to face Max. He stared at her, arms crossed. "You're not like the last one," he said slowly. Zarina tilted her head. "The last what?" "Babysitter," Max replied. "She ran away screaming after 10 minutes. Zarina smiled. Confident again. "Then she wasn't trained like me," she said proudly. Max raised one eyebrow. "We'll see." The first 5 minutes were quiet. Zarina tried to engage with Max using her training. "Would you like to play a board game?" she asked. He shook his head. "Want to paint a picture?" He shook his head again. "How about reading a story together?" Max looked at her, eyes sparkling. "Do you like surprises?" he asked. Zarina paused. "Yes, sometimes," she answered carefully. Max grinned wider. "Then follow me," he said, running into the hallway. Zarina followed quickly, already feeling uneasy. He stopped near the kitchen. "This is where I do my experiments," he announced. The counter was covered in bottles, wires, plastic spoons, and something that looked like glowing green jelly. Zarina's eyes widened. Are those chemicals?" "Homemade," Max said proudly. "Mostly safe." He pulled out a cup and started mixing 2 glowing liquids together. "Wait!" Zarina yelled, stepping forward too late. The mixture fizzed, then popped. A bright pink bubble rose from the cup, floated into the air, then exploded. Glitter and smoke filled the kitchen. Zarina coughed, eyes watering. Max laughed and clapped his hands. "That one smelled like strawberries." He cheered. Zarina rushed to the sink and ran water over her face. Her training didn't say anything about strawberry explosions. "Okay," she said firmly, "no more experiments." Max pouted. "You're no fun." Zarina tried to stay calm. "Let's do something safer," she said. Max shrugged. "Sure." He walked to the living room, pulled a remote, and turned on the holo TV. Cartoons danced in midair, loud and colorful. Zarina sat beside him, finally breathing again, but then Max whispered, "Want to see something really cool?" Zarina hesitated. "It depends." Max leaned closer and whispered, "There's a spaceship in our garage." Zarina's eyes narrowed. "Your parents told me you're not allowed in there." Max nodded. "Exactly, that's why it's fun." Before she could stop him, Max jumped up and dashed toward the garage door. Zarina chased after him. He was fast, too fast. He reached the door and placed his hand on a small panel. To her shock, it scanned his palm and unlocked itself. How do you have access?" she stammered. Max just smiled. "Told you, I'm curious." The garage door slid open with a hiss. Cold blue light spilled out from inside. Zarina's mouth dropped. There, hidden under a tarp, was something that looked very much like alien tech. Wires, blinking lights, control panels. Things no Earth child should ever have. Zarina stepped back, heart pounding. "What is this place?" Max looked at her with that mischievous grin. "This," he said proudly, "is my secret." Zarina's first job was turning into something far more complicated than she expected. And deep down, she had the feeling that this human child was just getting started. Zarina slammed the garage door shut with her 4-fingered hand. Her heart was still racing. Alien tech inside a human house? No one told her Earth kids could build things like that. She took a deep breath and turned to Max. The boy stood there, proud like he'd shown her a drawing, not a hidden spaceship. "That place is dangerous," Zarina said firmly. "You're not going back in there." Max just smiled and replied, Okay, in a sweet voice that made her suspicious instantly. She needed a plan. Something to keep him busy, something safe. Her training module suggested food as a calming activity. Would you like a snack? She asked. Max brightened up. Can I cook it? Zarina shook her head quickly. No. I will prepare it for you. He sighed, but followed her into the kitchen. Zarina opened her bag and pulled out a pouch of Silurian fruit spread. A favorite among her species, she carefully spread the blue jelly on some earth bread. It shimmered under the light and gave off a soft humming sound. Max sniffed it, then made a face. That looks like alien snot. Zarina frowned. It's nutritious and... I'll make something better, Max interrupted, already climbing onto the counter. No, Zarina warned, reaching for him. But he was too quick. He pulled open drawers and yanked out strange things. Metal bowls, half-used spice packets, a bottle labeled carbonated pickle juice. He started mixing wildly, humming to himself. I call this explosion stew, he announced. Zarina's eyes widened. That's not food. That's a safety hazard, he added sugar. Lemon extract, dish soap, and something glowing pink. She reached for the bowl, but he poured it into a glass jar and began shaking it violently. Suddenly, pop! The jar's lid flew off and hit the ceiling. Sticky foam sprayed everywhere, covering the table, the walls, even Zarina's face. Max burst out laughing. Zarina wiped jelly from her cheek and glared at him. You are chaos in child form, she muttered. The foam began to grow, creeping down the counter. Zarina grabbed a towel and tried to stop it. Then the house alarm went off. A robotic voice echoed through the room. Kitchen containment breach. Initiating lockdown. Metal shutters began sliding over the windows. Zarina panicked. She pressed buttons on the control panel, but it didn't respond. Max reached over and typed in something quickly. Everything stopped. The shutters froze halfway. The alarm fell silent. Zarina stared at him in shock. How do you know the override code? He shrugged. I watched Dad do it once. The floor was soaked. The ceiling dripped pink foam, and the robot vacuum in the corner was twitching like it had seen a ghost. Zarina sat down slowly on a stool, defeated. Max climbed up on the counter and grabbed a spoonful of his messy mixture. Taste? He offered. She stared at him, blinking in disbelief. You almost destroyed the kitchen and you want to feed me that? He grinned. It's got lemon in it, Zarina didn't reply. She stood up and began cleaning. Max helped. He danced with the mop like it was a sword. After 30 minutes, the room looked normal again, mostly. The ceiling still had a pink handprint that glowed slightly, but she didn't care anymore. I'm hungry, Max said finally. Zarina turned slowly. You just caused an indoor storm of glowing jam. He tilted his head. But I didn't eat it. She took a deep breath, counting slowly in her head. Her training said patience was key. But her training didn't mention Max, okay? She said calmly. What do you normally eat for snacks? Mac and cheese, he answered, and sometimes peanut butter on fish crackers. She stared at him. That sounds illegal, he nodded proudly. But tasty. Zarina made him mac and cheese from a pre-packed kit. It was safer and didn't explode while he ate. She cleaned the last of the slime from under the table. Everything was quiet for the first time all afternoon. Too quiet. Suddenly, Max looked up and said, Want to see my rocket? Zarina froze. What rocket? He smiled with the same grin that had already broken one kitchen and almost launched a pod. It's not in the garage, I promise. Then where is it? She asked nervously. He pointed out the window. In my treehouse, Zarina stared out at the backyard. A tall wooden treehouse stood among the branches. It looked innocent enough, but nothing was innocent when Max was involved. I thought you said you built a spaceship, she asked slowly. I did, Max replied, licking cheese from his fingers. But the rocket is way cooler. Zarina took another deep breath and whispered to herself. One day, just one calm day. Is that too much to ask? Zarina stood frozen in the kitchen doorway. Her eyes locked onto the backyard treehouse. The wind rustled the leaves around it like they were whispering secrets. Max, still chewing on his last bite of mac and cheese, looked proud. I made it myself, he said, with leftover parts from Dad's junk pile. Zarina blinked slowly. You built a rocket in a tree? He nodded. Well, it started as a telescope, then turned into something better. Before she could answer, the house AI crackled back to life. Security system error detected in kitchen, resuming diagnostics. Zarina panicked. If the AI scanned the room, it would find the mess, the chemical mixture residue, and the suspicious pink foam still glowing in the corner. She grabbed a mop, shoved it over the spot, and kicked a fallen spoon under the cabinet. You didn't report the incident? She asked Max. He shrugged. I disabled auto report. Zarina spun toward him, shocked. You tampered with the house AI? Max smiled. I added a custom command just in case. You know, experiments went too far. Zarina groaned and dropped her mop. You're 8, she whispered. How are you hacking advanced home systems? Max leaned closer, cupping his hand to his mouth like a secret. I may have watched some forbidden coding tutorials. Zarina sat down slowly on the couch. Her first babysitting job was becoming a galactic security incident. The AI beeped again. Garage panel breach detected. Status pending. Zarina jumped to her feet. What breach? Max looked nervous now. Oh, that might have been when I left it open. You mean it's still open? Max ran down the hall before she could yell again. She chased after him, heart pounding. The hallway light flickered as if the whole house sensed something was wrong. When they reached the garage, Max threw open the door. The pod inside was fine, but something else was blinking. An alert screen in red. Unauthorized object scan detected. Initiating data upload. Zarina gasped. That's a beacon system, she said. It's calling something. Max's face went pale for the first time. Oops, he said softly. I think I pressed that by accident. Zarina rushed to the control panel and started typing. The alien tech recognized her touch and asked for a shutdown code. She hesitated. Her clearance from the academy might not work here, but she tried it anyway. The screen flashed green, and the beacon died. Silence. Just a low hum remained. She turned slowly to Max. You do realize you almost called a tracking drone from another planet? Max looked like a scolded puppy now. I just wanted to see what that button did. Zarina held her head in her hands. You're not a child. You're a one-boy invasion. She pulled the tarp back over the pod and locked the garage manually this time. No more garage, no more experiments, and no more secret rocket launches. Max looked like he was about to argue, but then sighed. Okay, he said, holding up his hands. Truce? Zarina squinted at him, unsure. He grinned again, the same grin that always meant trouble. She wasn't falling for it this time. Back in the living room, Zarina started wiping fingerprints off every shiny surface. She tried to hide any signs of alien goo, explosive residue, or Max's crazy creations. But every corner revealed something strange. Tiny blueprints under the couch, a model of Earth with laser cannons drawn on it. Even the TV remote had been rewired. It now controlled the toaster. Zarina stared in disbelief as the toaster popped up toast even though it wasn't plugged in. Max, why does your remote activate appliances? He peeked from behind the hallway and said, Efficiency. The house AI beeped again. Owner return estimated in 55 minutes. Zarina froze. Less than 1 hour. She looked around at the mess and sighed. This wasn't babysitting. This was damage control. Serious high-level cross-species damage control. Max, she said calmly. We need to clean everything now. He groaned. But cleaning is boring. Then make it a challenge, she said. Whoever cleans more wins. Max perked up. Do I get a prize? Zarina smiled. If your parents come home and don't notice anything, you win. His eyes lit up like she'd handed him gold. They cleaned together, wiping screens, drying the walls, resetting the AI sensors. Max even helped rewire the toaster back to normal. Sort of. At one point, Zarina caught him sneaking toward the backyard again. Treehouse can wait, she warned. Max sighed dramatically. You ruin all my fun. Zarina glanced at the clock. 30 minutes left, maybe. Just maybe they could pull this off. But as she bent down to clean under the table, she noticed something strange. A glowing trail of slime leading from the kitchen toward the front door. Max saw it too. Uh-oh, he whispered. Zarina stood up slowly, eyes narrowing. What now? Max bit his lip. Remember the pink foam? I might have dropped a piece outside. Outside, something buzzed loudly. They both turned and ran for the door. Whatever Max had dropped was now moving. It slid across the sidewalk, glowing brighter. And it was heading for the neighbor's robotic lawnmower, Serena whispered. This is not over yet. Serena burst through the front door, Max right behind her. The glowing pink slime rolled along the pavement like it had a mind of its own. It wobbled once, then launched itself, straight onto the neighbor's robotic lawnmower. The robot froze, then began spinning wildly in circles. Its green laser eyes blinked red, and a warning beep echoed across the yard. System malfunction, system BZZT, run away. Serena gasped. Max just said, cool. The robot shot forward, tearing up grass, spraying dirt like a mini tornado. The slime had merged with its circuits, giving it a strange pulsing glow. Serena didn't wait. She grabbed the garden hose, turned the knob to full pressure, and aimed. A blast of water slammed into the robot's side, short-circuiting its legs. Sparks flew, and finally it collapsed. Smoke curled into the air. Max coughed once and muttered, "That was awesome." Serena turned to him. Soaked, covered in foam, grass stuck to her jumpsuit. "Do you understand what you've done?" she asked. Voice shaking, he blinked innocently. "Improved your reflexes?" She stared at him, breathing hard. "You need a containment facility, not a babysitter." Max tilted his head. "Can we build one?" The neighbor's door opened slightly. Serena grabbed Max by the arm and pulled him back inside. "We're done," she said. "No more surprises." She closed the door, locked it, and leaned back against it. Her brain felt like it had run a marathon, but Max wasn't finished. "I think we should check the garage again," he said. Serena looked up, her eyes wide. "What?" "The pod," Max whispered. "I saw something on the screen before you shut it down." Serena shook her head. "We are not going into the garage." Max smiled slightly. "It's kind of important." She sighed hard. "Max, the garage is the reason I'm going to need therapy." "But if the pod called something? Maybe it left a message." Serena paused. "A message? That could be bad. Very bad. If someone answered that signal, Earth could be exposed." Fine, she thought, one last check, then she was locking the garage forever. They walked to the garage quietly this time. Max behaved, hands behind his back like a tiny soldier. Serena unlocked the door manually and stepped in first. The lights came on, dim and eerie. The pod still sat under the tarp, but its control panel blinked yellow now, not red. Serena approached carefully. She lifted the tarp and activated the interface. Lines of alien script scrolled across the display. Max leaned forward, eyes scanning quickly. Serena read it too, slowly. "Message received. Not acknowledged. Scout team arrival. Pending." Her chest tightened. That meant someone did hear the signal. Max looked up at her. "Are we in trouble?" Serena didn't answer right away. She placed her hand on the console and tried to erase the log, but the pod denied her access. "Who built this?" she asked quietly. Max looked down. "I borrowed pieces from different kits and some from Mom's lab." Serena stared. "You built a hybrid beacon using alien and human parts?" He nodded, embarrassed. "I wanted to see if it could talk to the stars." Serena took a step back. "Max, you just invited aliens to your house." He swallowed hard. "Are they bad aliens?" Serena didn't know. But scout teams usually meant one thing: surveillance and sometimes an invasion prep. She had to act fast. She pulled out her portable communicator and opened a secure channel. It crackled to life. "This is Serena of the Alari Watch. I have a rogue beacon activation on Earth. Possible contact event, recommend soft lockdown." A voice answered, cold and direct. "Confirmed field agent, enforcement team notified, ETA 2 hours. Serena closed the link and turned to Max. "We need to hide this pod now." Max looked scared for the first time. "I didn't mean to start anything." Serena placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know," she said, "but accidents on Earth are different when aliens are involved." They covered the pod quickly, sealed the control panel, and placed old boxes around it to block view. Zarina then disabled the garage lights and activated a privacy field. Back inside, Max sat quietly on the couch. No grinning now, no wild ideas, just a worried boy hugging a pillow. Zarina sat beside him. "Do I get arrested?" he whispered. Zarina shook her head. "No. But someone's coming to check." "Will they take me away?" "Not if you act like a regular Earth kid when they arrive." Max nodded slowly. "I just wanted to build something great." "You did," Zarina said softly. "Too great." The house AI spoke again. "Owner return estimated in 17 minutes. Zarina jumped up. "We need to hide everything right now." Max stood up, more serious than ever before. Together, they ran to erase all evidence, because the moment that garage door opened again, nothing would ever be the same. The house was finally quiet again. No alarms, no explosions, no flying robots. Just the ticking clock and the soft hum of the air system. Zarina sat on the edge of the couch. Hands in her lap, Max stood beside the window, watching the backyard like a soldier on guard. He hadn't smiled in 10 full minutes. That had to be a record. Zarina glanced at the clock. Only 16 minutes left until the parents came back. They had hidden the pod, cleaned the kitchen, and wiped down every panel. Even the security logs had been scrambled. Almost safe, but then Max turned to her. His voice soft, like he was confessing a secret. "I never meant to make you scared." Zarina blinked. Surprised, she expected another prank, another smirk. Instead, Max looked guilty. "I just wanted you to see what I built," he said. In the treehouse, Zarina sighed. She was tired, stressed, and soaked from the lawnmower disaster. But the sadness in his voice made her pause. "What did you build this time?" she asked carefully. Max hesitated. "It's not a weapon," he said quickly. "It's just a rocket." Zarina raised a brow. "Define just." He shrugged. "I'll show you." Zarina followed him out the back door. Her boots crunching on the grass. The sun was low now, casting long shadows across the lawn. The treehouse stood tall at the edge of the yard. It looked normal from the outside. Wooden walls, rope ladder, old blanket as a curtain. But once they climbed up, Zarina froze in place. Inside the treehouse was a small launch platform. A real one. Metal parts fused together with bolts, wires, and tape. The rocket was sleek, about the size of a child's bike. It had stabilizers, a homemade fuel cell, even a handwritten dashboard. And painted on the side in bright red was a name. Star Jumper X1. Zarina's jaw dropped. "You built this?" Max nodded proudly. "It was supposed to be for my science fair," he said. But it kinda turned into something cooler. Zarina slowly walked around the rocket. Everything was wrong and genius at the same time. Half of it looked like junk. The other half was advanced tech even she couldn't identify. "You fused alien power crystals with a toaster coil?" she gasped. Max beamed. "It works." Zarina turned sharply. "Have you launched it before?" He hesitated, then said, "Only a few feet, and once into the neighbor's tree." She held her head. "Max, this is beyond dangerous. You could start a forest fire." He frowned. "I added flame shields, see?" He pointed to the bottom, soda cans flattened and taped into armor. Zarina groaned. "That's not how flame shielding works. Still." She couldn't ignore the brilliance of it. This boy was building things no normal child should even imagine, and he did it all in secret. "Why didn't you show this to your parents?" she asked. Max looked down. "Mom says I break too many things." Zarina's heart softened. He wasn't just mischievous. He was lonely and too smart for his own good. "I just wanted someone to say it was cool," Max whispered. Zarina placed her hand gently on the rocket. "It's more than cool," she said. "It's incredible and terrifying." Max chuckled. "Thanks, I think." But then something blinked on the dashboard. A small red light pulsed slowly. Zarina leaned in. "What's this?" Max frowned. "It shouldn't be blinking, unless—" Suddenly the light turned green. A quiet hum filled the air, then came the click. "Fuel primed, systems armed, countdown activated." "Did you arm this rocket?" Zarina yelled. "I didn't mean to!" Max shouted. "Maybe when I fixed the stabilizers earlier, deactivate it!" "I'm trying." The platform began to vibrate. The rocket's engine started glowing. Zarina grabbed a loose wire and yanked it. Nothing. She yanked another. Still nothing. Max crawled under the platform and started shouting numbers. 3 minutes before core surge. Zarina ripped open the back panel and stared at the spaghetti mess of wires. She recognized the alien capacitor. Unstable. Very unstable. Max, this could blow up half the tree. Just disconnect the green wire. There are 4 green wires. Time was running out. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her alien badge chip. It had a shutoff pulse, normally for drones. She slapped it onto the console and triggered it. The rocket beeped once, sputtered, then died. Silence returned to the treehouse. Max let out a breath. Zarina dropped to the floor and stared at the roof. Next time, she gasped, just build a kite. Max laughed softly. I don't think you were trained for this kind of babysitting. Zarina closed her eyes. I was trained for wild alien beasts. Black holes and screaming triplets, she said. But you, Max, are something else entirely. The house AI chimed in again. Owner return in 7 minutes. Zarina sat up quickly. We need to clean this place too. Max looked around at the wires. Bolts and half-open battery packs. He raised a hand. This may take longer than 7 minutes. Zarina grabbed a toolkit and muttered. Then let's start with the glowing parts. Zarina's hands moved fast. Wires twisted, clamps tightened. Bolts clicked into place. Max held a flashlight in his mouth as he helped from below the rocket stand. The treehouse swayed slightly in the evening breeze. Every tick of the clock made Zarina more nervous. The rocket had powered down, for now, but one wrong wire. One stray spark and it could launch again. 5 minutes, Max whispered, pulling loose tape off the fuel port. Zarina gave him a sharp look. Don't say numbers right now. It gives me anxiety. Max giggled, then grew serious again. He could tell she was scared, and not just for him anymore. I don't get it, he said. Why did the engine start if I didn't press anything? Zarina paused. She looked at the control board again and frowned. It was remote triggered, she said slowly. Triggered from what? Max crawled forward and grabbed the back of the dashboard. There's a receiver chip in here, he said, holding it up. I didn't put this in, Zarina's eyes narrowed. That's not human tech. She turned the chip in her hand. Alien code glowed faintly across its surface. Her mind raced. It must have piggybacked from the garage pod. Hidden in one of the control circuits Max used. Oh no, she whispered. What? Max asked. It wasn't you, she said, standing up quickly. Someone else just tried to launch this rocket. Before Max could even respond, the floor beneath them rumbled. The rocket buzzed again, its lights flickering back on. No, shut it down again. Zarina yelled. Max slammed his palm on the kill switch. Nothing happened. The rocket began to rise slowly, humming as plasma hissed under its base. Zarina grabbed Max by the waist and dove toward the treehouse door. They rolled down the rope ladder just as the rocket blasted through the treehouse roof. Wood splinters flew everywhere and a loud boom echoed through the neighborhood. The rocket shot up about 20 meters, then spun sideways. Max shouted, "The stabilizer's loose." I forgot to finish it. The rocket swirled like a dizzy bird and slammed into the inflatable pool. Water exploded upward, soaking the grass, the walls, and a poor garden gnome that flew 10 feet into the air. Zarina stared in horror. A small fire crackled near the shed. The grass was scorched and the treehouse had a new skylight. Max stood beside her, dripping wet. He whispered, I think that counts as a semi-successful launch. The house AI buzzed again. Owner return in 3 minutes, Zarina turned toward Max. Slowly. You blew up the backyard, she said. Voice flat. He nodded. Only a little. She closed her eyes. You promised no more rockets. I said garage rockets, Max corrected. Zarina pointed at the smoking remains of the pool. This is worse. Just then the front alarm chimed. A hover car pulled into the driveway, lights flashing politely. Mom and Dad, Max whispered in terror. Zarina's body went rigid. Quick, we have 3 minutes to erase an alien rocket launch from this yard. Max looked around. That's not enough time. Then lie fast and clean faster, Zarina snapped. They grabbed hoses, shoveled dirt over the scorch marks, and flipped the garden gnome upright. Zarina sprayed foam neutralizer over the pink slime near the pool remains. Max ran inside, dragging a wet towel and his science fair poster to cover the hole in the wall. The house AI updated, owner entering in 30 seconds. Zarina dove behind the couch. Wiping mud off her face, Max posed near the TV with a book in hand like he'd been reading the whole time. He smiled with all his teeth showing. Too many teeth. Zarina whispered. Less teeth, more normal. The door opened. Max's parents stepped inside, cheerful and relaxed. "Hi, sweetie," said the mom. "Was everything okay?" Max nodded fast. "We read books and ate snacks and didn't go outside at all." The father raised a brow. "Not even once?" "Nope," Max said. "We were learning about volcanoes." Serena coughed loudly from behind the couch, then stood up. "Educational volcanoes," she added. "Very safe." The mom looked around. Everything looked normal. Somehow the living room was clean. The kitchen smelled like lemon wipes, and Max's shirt was only slightly damp. "Well, thank you, Zarina," the father said, handing her a payment card. "You did great." Zarina took the card with shaking hands. I did my best." The parents waved goodbye to Max and disappeared upstairs. The moment the door shut behind them, Zarina and Max collapsed onto the couch. They didn't speak for a full minute. Just deep breaths and the distant sound of dripping water from the broken pool. Then Max whispered, "Want to see what I'm building next?" Zarina sat up fast. "No," she said. "I'm deleting your tool access, your AI override, and your rocket files." Max grinned. "You're the best babysitter ever." She stared at him. "I swear the next time you blink near a button, I'm calling galactic security." He leaned back, hands behind his head. "You'll be back. They always come." "Back," Serena sighed deeply. And for the first time that day, she laughed. The house was quiet again. Too quiet, Zarina sat on the couch, still dripping from the pool explosion. Her jumpsuit smelled like toasted grass and burnt jelly. Max sat beside her, legs crossed, holding an ice pack to his forehead. "Why the ice pack?" she asked. He grinned. "Makes me look like I survived something." Zarina shook her head. He had survived something, barely, between a pink slime-powered lawnmower, a garage beacon that almost summoned aliens, and a rogue treehouse rocket. Max had caused more chaos in one afternoon than a space pirate crew on a sugar rush. She stood up slowly, wobbling a little. Her legs were tired, her arms sore, and her dignity barely intact. The once proud alien babysitter of the Alari Watch now looked like she'd fought a tornado and lost. "I just wanted a quiet first mission," she muttered. Max raised a hand. "You picked the wrong species for that." Just then, the parents came downstairs. Both looked rested, cheerful, and clueless. "Hey, how'd everything go?" the mother asked, setting down her purse. Zarina straightened her back, wiped her face with her sleeve, and smiled. "It was active," she said carefully. Max added quickly. "We learned so much," the father chuckled. "Hope he wasn't too much trouble." Zarina opened her mouth to answer, then paused. She thought about the garage, the hidden alien pod now covered with blankets and random junk. She thought about the pink foam that had tried to possess a lawnmower. She thought about the rocket that launched itself through the treehouse roof and almost burned the neighbor's flower bed. And she looked at Max, smiling now but quieter than before. She saw the curious spark in his eyes, and the loneliness underneath it. "No trouble at all," she said softly. The mother beamed. "Oh, we've gone through 5 babysitters in the last year," she said. "You're the only one who didn't call us crying." Zarina forced a laugh. "I considered it," she admitted. "But he had interesting company." The father checked his wrist device. "Well, Zarina, we really appreciate your help," he said, handing her a small envelope. "Just a little extra. Max said you stayed calm even when things went sideways." Zarina took the envelope with a polite nod. "Thank you." Max followed her to the door as she got ready to leave. His usual grin was gone now. He looked thoughtful. "I know I messed up," he said quietly. Zarina turned to him, surprised. "You almost started an interplanetary incident," she replied. "Twice." He scratched the back of his head. "Still, you didn't give up on me." Zarina tilted her head slightly. "Why do you act out so much?" she asked. Max shrugged. "Everyone expects me to act normal," he said. "But my brain doesn't work that way." He pointed to his head. "I see numbers when I close my eyes, and I hear machines talking. Even when they're off." Zarina's expression softened. "You're gifted, Max," she said. "But you're not alone. Not anymore." He looked up, surprised. "Really?" She nodded. "I'm going to recommend you for the Young Innovators Exchange," she said. "It's a program run by the Galactic Science Corps." Max's mouth dropped open. "Is that real?" Zarina smiled. "They'll eat you alive," she said. "But in a good way." He laughed, then hugged her tightly. It startled her. She didn't expect a human child to hug without warning. She awkwardly patted his back. "Thank you, Zarina," he said. "You were the best one." She looked down at him. "You say that to all your babysitters?" He shook his head. "No. Just the ones who survive." She smiled and stepped out onto the porch. The sky was purple now, stars peeking through before walking away. She turned back and looked at the house. Inside was a family who had no idea their kid had just almost made first contact with unknown life. And Max, brilliant, chaotic Max, stood there waving goodbye. Still dangerous, still sweet, still Max. As Zarina walked toward the hover bus station, her communicator buzzed in her pocket. She tapped it, and a familiar voice crackled through. "Agent Zarina. Report status." She looked up at the stars and replied, "Target neutralized, Earth safe. No planetary damage, barely." The voice paused. "Was it a terrorist cell?" "No," she said. "An invasion signal?" "No," she answered again. "Then what was it?" Zarina sighed deeply. It was an 8-year-old boy with a screwdriver and too much imagination. There was silence on the line, then a sigh. "You want reassignment?" Zarina thought for a moment. She looked back at the house one last time. Max's rocket, the pod, the pink goo, the laughter, the near-death chaos, the tiny genius brain. She smiled. "No," she said softly. "Book me for next Saturday, same kid.